Right. That's gone away again. Okay, welcome everybody to. Hang a minute. We quiet at the moment. Oh, Pat's back. Okay.
We just have Councillor Davison attending from. I don't know. I think he's still in Vietnam, isn't he?
No, he's back, I think.
Oh, is he back?
Yeah.
So he is. That's not Vietnamese clothing, is it?
No. Okay, welcome everybody to this community events working party of 22nd of January 2024. As usual, any decisions taken here will have to be ratified by the Full Leisure and Community Committee unless the clerk does it by delegated powers. So, item number 2, apologies for absence, please, Colin. You're muted.
So I have apologies from Councillor Brown and Councillor Page.
Okay, thank you very much. Declarations of interest, request for dispensation. Anybody? No. Thank you. Minutes of previous meeting held on Tuesday, the 10th of October last year. Are you able to put them on screen? No? It should be page 5 to start with. Right, can I, before we go on to the next one, but I assume you've all read them. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Lucarini, seconder. Well, I'll second them. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Right, there are no matters to report, but we can quickly scroll down. Page 5, this is. We're going to be speaking about all of this in a little while. Page 6. Moving on to page 7. Page 8. Page 9 and then page 10. Okay. All right, lovely. Thank you, Colin. So matters rising and not agenda, there were none. Number as agenda item 5. Agenda item 6, public speaking. Have we got anybody? No, nobody. Okay, thank you, Colin. Right, review of the events of end of last year, autumn there. So starting with the Halloween trail. Guess that's going to be you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Anything to say at the moment, and then we'll, have others.
Well, we did it. I think it worked well. We had the queuing on the inside of the park, which was, from a health and safety point of view, much preferable. And it also stopped, and connected to that, it stopped the build-up of the queue getting a bit out of hand. There were some waits, but that was inevitable because of the breaks of the performers. There was a few little issues here and there, but nothing that seems insurmountable. The acts all had a lot of fun and were pleased to be there, and we got good reaction from those, and Centre Stage really loved getting involved. Finance wise, the tech spend was very high, so that's something that we need to watch. And overall, I think it went okay.
Hey, yeah, thank you, sir. And obviously, I apologise for not being available to help out and everything for certain reasons. So I missed it all. Anyone got any comments at all on the Halloween trail as it was last year? Those who attended, obviously. Councillor Creaney.
I haven't got a lot to say, but it seemed to go really, really well. Sarah, you done a great job, especially considering that was your first year of taking it over at East Town Park. Everything went very smoothly. I was impressed, and the feedback was brilliant. So yeah, good event.
I think to note that for this particular Halloween trail is that we kind of reverted back to basics. We went back to the tenet of trying to scare people. I think there was a little bit of feedback that the trail was a little bit short, but I think that was down to us going back to East Town Park and with the resources we had to make sure that people could get on and off site safely, but also that the scares were present. We didn't want to spread everything out and stretch ourselves too thin for this particular occasion on the Halloween trail. Again, it was a lot of hard work. We were obviously supplemented with the cadets, the rangers, and the council of volunteers. So thank you again to all of those. The event really doesn't happen without those. So always appreciated that people step up to the plate. Again, it is a long day. I've reiterated this again and again. And just to flag that it's a long day in often damp and cold and wet conditions. There's always issues about lone working across the site, which we need to stay on top of. And I think if we're going to do it again next year, there's a few little things that we can tweak. But I think maybe next year, if it is at East Town Park, then we can expand it a little with the confidence that we've had from 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Councillor Cooney.
Yeah, just expanding what Gary said about kind of it being scarier this year. It really was. I'm pleased that kind of feedback from councillors was taken on board, because that's something we asked for, that we go back to it being slightly more scary and less arty. So I was really pleased with that. Just the thing on the kind of improving for next year. Obviously, like Gary says, it is a very long day and we're there very late at night. I think one thing to make sure is in future that the lights don't get turned off by our tech provider so early. Obviously, poor Sarah got left trying to take stuff out of trees in the pitch black. I think we need to work the other way around, get the props out first, and then the tech can come in and remove lighting.
Yeah, I had a sense of failure, a sense of humour failure at certain points. But yeah, we've talked about having a more detailed get out plan. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the same for obviously we did get the use of a quad bike at points throughout the day. Obviously that really helped, and there's probably something that needs to be more included within plans. I was involved in putting up fencing, and it's bloody hard trying to lug around all that fencing by hand. Having a quad bike drop it off for you would have been so much better.
Yeah, defo.
Yeah, it sounds like things that we've discussed before. And I think one of the things discussed before, and it may or may not happen, and obviously I wasn't there to see it, is the coordination between those who are doing the tech, whether it's in-house or external. That because I've noticed in the past being left in the dark, and particularly in the olden days where we had to walk all the way around the park, having means of transport around the park is vital for health and safety reasons, if nothing else. Okay, sounds like it was good.
Yeah, we discussed those very issues recently, quad bikes, and also for all of the 2024 events having a more detailed get out plan, and one of those aspects would be feeding into how our external contractors work with us to deliver a safe environment. I think and I mentioned it, it should be a certain way round. So yeah, these points are absolutely what we've been discussing and taking into the events of 2024. Thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you. Sounds like a good thing. Obviously, we're going to talk about this year's Halloween trail, if and all the other events in a minute. Right. So I guess you and Gary and maybe Colin, the Christmas events, and I guess we include the fireworks in that as well. Same thing, as it's the same day. Any
Well,
thoughts?
from our perspective, we thought it worked well to have things just on one day. It saved a lot of duplication and effort. The makers market and the fairground sort of gel, and the charity stalls all gelled together as one. I was a bit disappointed that I didn't get the steam rally type fair that I was promised, but at least I didn't shout about it too loudly, but that was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
The traders did do some discounts, but I'm not actually sure how widely they were used. Gary, do you want to talk about the fireworks and the issues that we had there?
The fireworks we planned during the day and all went as expected up until time about to give clearance to go. We had a number of issues with the road at the top of the recreation ground. I think that's Recreation Road, is it?
Or that, or Clements Lane, one of those.
It was Recreation Road, which I've discussed with the team and also with the local police, who were also in attendance on that particular road at the time of trying to get the fireworks launched. So I've had a little bit of feedback, a bit of a chat. So we're going to look at doing something about that next year, which I'm pleased to say I think will make things a bit smoother. The fireworks itself were delayed, obviously because of that. The issue with the fireworks that most people know about is that a combination of the atmospherics, the smoke, and the general weather conditions caused the fireworks to turn into a bit of a foggy mess. There was a consideration to stop it at one point by the fireworks contractor. However, we obviously have roads to reopen, and in the end, the decision was it wouldn't have changed anything realistically. So they went as one set of fireworks. Hopefully this is a once in a 10, 20 year occurrence with that particular weather front that caused us issues, and we'll never see the like again. There was a few issues with the road reopening, with the sheer number of people, and trying to get the two roads open again, which we dealt with, but it was a little bit of hard work. But other than that, we've had a good debrief on that, and moving into 24, I think we'll take all of those points on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anything further, Sarah, at all? I'll come to Pat in a sec. Anything from you, Colin, at all? No. Councillor Hanlon, Pat.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh, right. Yeah, I do apologise. My laptop decided to have a Microsoft update, and it takes so long. That's why I've had to go to my phone, and I'm late. Yeah, I just want to ask Gary a question on what was the actual problem in Recreation Road then?
Historically, we've always closed Recreation Road to traffic, which is what we did, but we've also closed it pedestrians as well, stopping people on the end of either side, so that nobody stood on that particular road next to the top of the recreation ground. There were a number of people who pushed past our stewards. We had quite a number of stewards in place on both ends of the road, but the sheer level and the volume of people, which occurred due to the fact, well, there were a number of reasons, I guess, but one of the main reasons was the fact that people moved from Camps Road up to the junction point up at the top of Shaney Pieces to get a better view, and then decided to move across. So all in all, I couldn't give clearance for the fireworks until that road was clear of people, and of course it does take a couple of minutes to walk the length of that road. We did have police at the top, and the people were just walking past them as well. So fair play to the stewards that we had, who were trying to do their very best there. We do have a plan for 2024, which I'm hoping will circumnavigate any of those particular issues and make it a smoother commencement of the fireworks and put less pressure on the teams on the either side.
Can I just come back?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And can you thank all the helpers and the stewards, because it must have been a lot of pressure for them. It's not right what the crowd did. I thought it was because of the atmospherics and the fog or whatever you through the smoke, but obviously it wasn't. It was before that started. Right. Thank you very much.
Just to be clear, that particular junction at the top, where all the three roads meet at the top of Sheney Pieces, is historically always the most difficult place to staff and manage on the fireworks evening. It is complicated. There are a number of people, a number of obviously homes, roads, etc., etc. So it historically always has been the most difficult place to steward. Having done it 3 times myself, I can tell you that is the case. So we're always wary, etc., etc. I won't go into it, but I think we may have resolved it for 2024, and we shouldn't have anywhere near those particular issues. We've had communication with the fireworks provider, contractor, and I think we have a plan for 24. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. I must admit, I've had exactly the same experience up there. So we'll go to Councillor Mason, then we'll go to Colin Clark. Joe.
Yeah, thank you, John. Trying to get rid of my hand. There you go. Yeah, so I did send an email in congratulating the team on what I thought was a really successful day. I wasn't there in capacity as a volunteer or as a town councillor. I was involved with the Haverhill Santa and the sleigh. And so I found myself positioned kind of being able to look down Queen Street, the High Street and the marketplace, and to get a good feel for what was going on throughout the whole day. It was a very, very cold day. Firstly, it was lovely to see the High Street vibrant for such a long part of the day as well. There was a lot going on. If I was to have possibly one comment in terms of tidying things up a little bit, sorry, you may not necessarily agree. I thought having one person such as yourself was stretching you a little bit thin, and whether Queen Street and the High Street and the marketplace needed certainly in terms of a setup time. Sometimes there were people arriving and it wasn't necessarily clear where they were going. It didn't take long to have it sorted, but it felt a little bit thin on the ground at times. And I think a little bit more manpower might have helped. But other than that, a really successful event and well done. Thank you.
Again, I think you missed me. That's what it was, wasn't it? Do you want to come back on that, Sarah, at all? Colin?
Yeah, I agree. We could have had a bit more manpower down in the High Street end. So yeah, I think that's a thing to look at next year. I've got a Christmas related question, which I'm not sure will come up later. But the Christmas tree, every year we get comments that we don't have baubles or anything on the Christmas tree, and I'm just wondering why that is.
I think Colin above you on my picture probably can answer that. Or maybe not.
I don't think there is any particular reason. I know that there was concern in previous years that the baubles could potentially end up as missiles being thrown around the place. But I mean, I guess we could look at how they could be attached. Other places do have baubles, and I think it can look quite effective. So that it.
I just think for the change, otherwise it's the same Christmas. It'll be straight this year, of course, but just for a change to have something different than we've had for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because maybe we need to look at pictures of other towns and things, how they decorate their trees, because we do decorate the same. Maybe, you know, maybe baubles only, I don't know, the top half or something, so people can't get to them. Or yeah, I don't know, something like that. Sorry, Colin, you wanted to ask a question or say?
No, I was just going to follow up on what Gary and actually Councillor Mason have just referred to in terms of some issues over the roads and road closures, etc., and also getting people in and out. I think a lot of that was down to where we're having serious issues with the radios. People who've seen the finance report will be aware that I've highlighted that they are really failing quite badly. The range significantly degraded. I mean, these things, some of them are well over 20 years old. They date back to when the Arts Centre first became an arts centre. And there's only been a handful of additional radios added in the last decade. And it was a serious issue. And I think that not only in terms of road closures and moving resources around, but if the loss of the ability to communicate meant that moving people from A to B, navigating arrivals through, was harder, because we didn't actually know where all of our troops were, or were able to contact them very easily. So it wasn't so much that we didn't have enough people, but we simply at any one point in time had, if we were stuck in a particular location and couldn't have any line of sight, we couldn't see and couldn't communicate with our stewards who were there. So yeah, I would thought if we had a good radio system, then a lot of those problems wouldn't happen, because actually we'd be able to shift people around. I'm quite sure there were people who were doing what they were told to do, standing where they were told to stand, without actually any immediate need for them to be there. And if we could have contacted them, we could have redeployed them. So I think that's something that hopefully we can cover in the new financial year.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who in my previous life, probably, well, the last time I know it's nearly 20 years ago, we're talking about the same time, did the analog to digital migration for my own company, and I bought about 800 radios. I spent many months investigating them, but what a difference it made going from analog to digital, and also higher powered radios, so you can get longer distances as well, and also things like private channels,
Yes.
multiple channels. Nowadays, of course, it's all 4G as well. You can do 4G integration. If you haven't got line of sight, it will use 4G, or in 5G, I suspect. Yeah, we just got to make sure we get the right ones from the right supplier. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's right. We were reverting to telephones. I mean, for several years, the radios haven't been able to reach from the Arts Centre to the Market Square.
No, that's right. That's right. I mean, even the ones that bought cheaply off the internet are better than the ones we got. Okay, thank you for that.
Councillor Luccarini has his hand up.
Yeah. I've just seen him. Councillor Lucchini, you.
Yeah, radios. I was quite surprised how bad they've got. I was in the office at the time as performers were arriving, and we couldn't understand anything anyone was saying. They were so poor, which obviously made things a lot harder. But in terms of the whole event, I was pleased with how it went. I thought it worked well, putting everything on one day. I haven't really heard anything from traders, so I don't know how it went for them, but certainly comments from residents was positive. Considering how cold a day it was, you know, I thought the town was really busy. It was a great great makers market. And normally weather like that for our market, you know, the market's empty if we have weather like that. So it really still brought people out, which was great. And I was pleased after the fireworks to see lots of people walking back to the town centre and still on the market square with the fair rides after the event had finished. And certainly, I don't know about other places, but Wetherspoons was heaving, so that's all good. So hopefully having it slightly earlier worked in terms of people coming back into the town to get dinner and socialise.
Yeah, I'm shame I missed it.
I think that was a slight double-edged sword, which we definitely wanted everybody to come back into town. However, getting everybody back into town and off the road was a bit of a logistical issue. So I think moving forward, we should definitely plan to get everybody back into town, but also how we then reopen the roads. Obviously, it's a bigger conversation than we can have here, but definitely will form part of our planning.
Okay, before I go on to council, is this relevant to this, Councillor Keeney? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's possibly one kind of criticism would be as people were coming back down, cars started appearing from up the side of the Drabbit, not really knowing where to go. I don't know whether they'd ignored previous road closure signs and went past them, but it kind of ended up a bit chaotic, and the number of cars that ended up going through the no entry signs at the police station was significant. Obviously they ended up turning that way because they couldn't go up past the wreck. So they ended up following the road round, couldn't go up the High Street, couldn't go up Queen Street, just carried straight on. So if that's something we can solve.
Councillor Mason.
Yes, Councillor Carini mentioned a trader, and I was informed by Star Grill and Wendy, who has attended this meeting, that they had a very, very good day, and they thought they were finished. And then after the fireworks, they were suddenly swamped again. And so the comments from some of the street traders, in particular Star Grill, was they had an exceptionally good day.
Good. That's what you want to hear. Okay, lovely. Thank you. And anything else on that? I'm
just going to say, hopefully that means the fact Star Grill did well, that our plan worked. Moving it all onto one day was hopefully a success.
Yeah. Okay. Right, let's move on to item agenda 8 then, in case for the events for this year. Starting with the campaign for Real Ales Beer Festival. I notice there's no budget on this. Do we know a budget? I mean, is this going to cost us money, or is this going to be hopefully making a profit for us?
Well, first off, it's not a camera beer festival as such. We've got 4 volunteers who happen to be camera members. But they don't want to align it with camera.
Okay.
So I looked at the figures for the last time as near as I could get, because the records weren't very good, and we had about 440, something like that, people come along. So I've quite optimistically said maybe we can get 550 this time, and once we take into account all our costs, we should be able to make a profit, which we could then split between the camera, but they're not camera people, their chosen charity, which is St Nicholas Hospice, and the Haverhill Community Trust.
Right. I guess my only question would be, not bad, I don't drink beer, so it doesn't really bother me. Are we going to get any adverse reaction from similar vendors in the town centre?
Well, one of the steering committee, for want of the better word,
Yeah.
has suggested that Brian from the Royal Exchange might like to do a beer trail, and then that would get the other town centre pubs involved and hopefully not feel left out. And if they do that, we can put them on the publicity, and then they'll should hopefully be amenable to us using our publicity and their venues.
Okay. All right. I'm assuming people will raise their hands or anything if because we've got quite a lot to get through. I don't want to stop on everyone and ask for questions. So if that's all right, and if anyone's got any comments, please.
We will need a bit of money up front to pay for some entertainment. I've got Patrick to programme some free entertainment, but we need a headline or something, a bit of a draw for the evening.
Okay.
So there are some upfront costs.
When you say evening, just for one evening?
I was thinking for the 2 evenings, so the Friday and Saturday.
Okay. And when you say we might make a profit, is that allowing for staffing costs, our staffing costs?
No.
Okay. All right. So we've got to be careful about that because obviously you could, I mean, personally, I would argue, is it a community event? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, the group that are volunteering have said that they should be able to get more volunteers. So we've got 4 volunteers at least from them, and hopefully a few more. But you know, the thing with volunteers is you never get.
I know, no, you promise the world and not necessarily deliver. Yeah. Okay. All righty. Can't see any hands up or anything. Science Festival, Colin. I know it's going to be you.
Well, actually, a lot of it's going to be Sarah will actually organising that particular event. So, Sarah, I don't know whether you want to talk about it.
Oh, the community event. Sorry, I misread that. Sorry.
Well, does everyone know the rough basis of it, Colin, or not?
Well, the rough basis, of course, obviously, I think council is aware of the Science Festival. So, one of the Science Festival providers, Steamco, is putting on an event for the majority of the day. And then we're putting on we're adding in some additional stalls, etc., around it to make sure that there's sufficient capacity to cope with however many people turn up, so we don't end up with everyone just spending the day queuing to do something in particular.
Just to clarify, this will be at Easttown Park, by the way.
Yes. So think picnic in the park, and you've got a pretty rough idea of what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So Sarah, did you want to talk about obviously we've got a new organisation today that's confirmed.
That was Merck, and they are bringing their science cube down, and basically that is a massive container, and you walk into the container and I didn't read in that much detail, but there's all sorts of experiments and activities that you can do in there.
Yeah.
And Colin's also got the RSPB on board, and so my job over the next few weeks will be to find some more side stalls.
Yeah, and just to clarify, there is a budget for the Science Festival as a whole, of which, you know, there will be slight costs for this sort of stuff, but we are looking at trying to get sponsorship, and Colin's doing a fantastic job with others, of trying to find money. And so hopefully there'll be very little, maybe no, I don't know, but we'll see what happens, and hopefully no necessary expenditure from the council as such, other than staffing costs. But I think it'll be a fantastic week. We've got loads of other stuff going on that week, as people know, or maybe not know yet, but it will be on the website hopefully sometime. Okay, let's move on then. Should we talk about the 3 fun days? Well, no, include picnic in the park, 4 fun days, if you like, call it fun days.
Yeah, I think they all went, it sounds a bit boring to say it, but I think they all went well. We had sunny weather for most of them, including the rescheduled Chalkston one. The big day out was well attended. Jacqueline at the Chalkston does a really great job of getting a load of stalls involved, so that's a good one. Picnic in the park, I mean, I'm struggling to remember it really.
No. Well, I was thinking more about this year. What's because obviously we got Parkway, but I don't know how far is Parkway likely to happen this year.
Well, hopefully we need to confirm the details, the dates with all of our partners in these particular events. But Father John was, he was happy to agree the date. for this 2024. So we hope we can do it, because it's important to try and make sure there's something happening, around the town.
How do we cope with the new areas of the town? I'm talking about Hanchet End, like even the Persimmon, Red Rose Estates. I know Red Rose not so more developed out. Up there where Councillor Mason lives, Boynton Hall, all that sort of stuff. Meadowlands. I just feel that we're sort of in a slight circle around the town centre rather than.
Well, I mean, it depends how far out you feel that the Leyston Road, Strasbourg Square, and Parkway are as a not really town centre locations. But the reality is unless, well, I don't know how we would do it. We need to get electricity from somewhere to provide any power for any of the activities, or we're going to be running on generators. So we like to try and find something else. There's also a matter of publicly available toilets being available to an event, which tends to indicate you need a public building. At the moment, of course, there isn't a community centre up at the new Persimmon site, and I don't know quite where we would hold one.
I'm just saying for future years, Colin, we need to bear it in mind, that's all.
Yeah, and again, Hanchet End, I mean, interestingly, one of the discussions that I've had with the elections officer about Hanchet End is the complete absence of a community building serving that area. Particularly the loss of the Parkway, which of course wasn't a community building, but it was, as an example, where several community groups met and where election polling took place. I think it's, we really have to hope that the planning application that comes in actually contains some form of space there to serve that very large area that has no community meeting space at all.
Yeah, I agree. It's always been, all these places were supposed to have local centres, and because of S106 muck-ups by various people, that money was handed back to developers. It's really annoying. Okay. So, I mean, it's early days yet. I didn't realise for the fun days. I was just interested in what that. Okay, well, look, should we talk about, as I can't see any hands, Big Day Out, proposal to move it to Picnic in the Park. Not Picnic in the Park, Haverhill in the Park time. My only concern that 2 years ago, I know what you're saying, Colin, in the message about it was successful. I wasn't so sure it was successful. My biggest problem is, and I realise it's you're talking about moving it to the Sunday. My biggest problem was it took a lot of effort by staff to manage the whole thing. Not helped by the fact I think there was an event on at the Leyston as well that day, and we ended up running about moving tables from A to B and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know what either of you want to say on that at all. Anything?
We're interested to hear what members' views are, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, one of the discussions was about we struggled this year, particularly with the Sunday of Haverhill in the Park. The Big Day Out is obviously a great event. People enjoy it. We have been told to look at how we can maximise the value we can get out of the taxpayer dollars that go into putting on events. And we're mindful that the community village part of the Big Day Out that we put on the Saturday for Haverhill in the Park, we think there were good numbers. It also provided additional capacity for entertainment for families away from just listening to music. The feedback we've had is that it would be good to have more for families to do at Haverhill in the Park. And the suggestion was, and it's a suggestion, that, would it work? Would it help the Sunday numbers for Haverhill in the Park and deliver a less expensive big day out if we repeated what we did in 2022 only for the Sunday? But at the end of the day, it's our elected members who have their fingers on the pulse of the community, and we're interested to hear what you think would happen.
Anybody want to come back? Councillor Kennedy?
Yeah, when I first saw it on the agenda, I really wasn't sure. I think, like John, I had the fear that Haverhill in the Park already takes up a lot of resources. It's a big thing to put on, so obviously that it does add complication to that. Equally, though, I can see that I think £4,000 has come off the cost of the event compared with what was quoted in January. Assume that's correct. Is that correct, Colin?
Yeah.
From last year. Yeah.
So obviously that's good. I still have a fear though with Sunday in general for Haverhill in the Park that probably come up later, but I still think we're going to struggle to get people to come out on a Sunday. Obviously Sunday this year was really poor for Haverhill in the Park. I still wonder whether we should actually knock it on the head for the Sunday and potentially save a little bit of money there. The only other thing is, if we do keep the Sunday with the big day out money, can we split it across multiple days? Instead of just having family stuff on the Sunday, why not make it slightly smaller and have more activities on the Saturday and then more activities on the Sunday, or even Friday night as well?
Okay, Councillor Mason, then Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah. So I attended all 3 days as a spectator of the event, and my observations were that I didn't think it was particularly well attended. I think even on the Saturday night, when it was possibly at its busiest, it was lower in numbers than perhaps was expected. And so as an event, it was wonderfully crafted, and I think it's definitely worthy of another year. My concern is tough choices, and money is incredibly tight, and sustaining these additional costs. There was a time when the town council didn't do Haverhill in the Park, and we've decided to take on these large additional costs. Just globally speaking, I think the Chalkstone Community Centre, the Chalkstone Day Out was excellent value for money and was right in the heart of the community. I didn't attend the Leaston one, but I heard that was a successful event. Where in the tough climate that we've got in terms of money, where are the tough decisions going to be made? And I hear what Councillor Lucchini says about the Sunday. The Sunday we had my wife's dance school perform on the stage, and of course that pulls people in, and other community groups performed. And then if you throw in the big day out, I remember having a chat with you, Gary, about how do we define what the big day out is, and again, wearing my hat as chair of the Haverhill show, and there's certainly no criticism of the big day out because I think it's a great day, I really do. But with the increasing number of charity stalls, does it begin to kind of cross over with what the Haverhill show does? Which, if that's what the town council want to do, that's fine. But in terms of defining what that event is, I haven't got an answer. I think it's complicated, and what I'm a little bit worried about, and I might mention again at another time, is we're possibly going to try and maintain the status quo and not look for opportunities where, under tight fiscal pressures, we're not making those more challenging decisions to actually save some money as well. I'm listening to Councillor Lucchini about the Sunday. Can we quantify how much money would be saved by not doing the Sunday? Thank you.
Just to get in before Councillor Hannon talks, I have got some ideas about how we can manage events, save money, and do things, which I'll get onto in a little while. Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, the big day out is at the right time, really. It's right in the school holiday season, and it's something for the young people as well as charities. Obviously, with the Sunday, I must admit it was a bit down as far as the Haverhill Park was concerned. But I don't think we should do anything this year, personally. I think we should just give it another year and relook at it that way. But I really believe that we shouldn't combine them. We should keep Haverhill, we should keep the big day out, definitely. Because that is a success. It has been for years, and it's for the young people, you know, for the holidays, something for them to do. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll probably mention what I was going to say now because it's relevant to all the events. One thing I'm wondering about what we should be doing, and I am very conscious of what Councillor Mason just said, and I agree totally. We need to look at costs everywhere, not just events. We need to look at costs everywhere. You know, Colin's work on the budget again this year is stupendous, even though it's still quite small to read, you know, without expanding it. I wonder whether we ought to have fallow years, what I call fallow years anyway. You know, for example, let's do Haverhill Park this year, but maybe not do it next year, but do it the year afterwards. And also maybe, you know, I'm not saying do this, but, you know, maybe not do the Halloween trail this year, but do it next year, you know, just try and do alternate years to reduce our costs down on an annualized basis. And I'm not saying that's what we should do. You know, I've always been a fan of moving the fireworks to somewhere near November the 5th and making it more of a commercial type operation, you know, where you have more stalls there selling, I don't know, jacket potatoes or something like that, you know, whatever it might be, but something to think about. So what I'm hearing from Councillor Hanlon, you were saying that you prefer the big day out stays as is, as a separate day?
Oh, definitely, yeah,
definitely.
Okay. Because it's for the, you know, it's during holidays. It's
so it will be on the Sunday, on the Haverhill in the Park weekend. Yeah,
I know, but I don't know if it's Sundays because people go elsewhere with the children. Okay, I've got no idea, but it seems to be that particular day seems to be popular for some reason. I've got no idea why, but that seems to be popular that particular day.
All right. Yeah, I don't know how much money would save Councillor Mason on the Sunday. Obviously, things like rental of barriers that we rent, the Harris fencing. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Rental maybe of the stage would be one less day. In theory, you could be doing the fun day if you do the big not the fun day, the big day out on the Sunday, whilst within the Harris fencing, you could be taking the stage down and everything. My memories of last year was a little bit hazy because something happened on the next day to me, but you know, it's something to think about. Yeah, I mean, the numbers were definitely down, but they were down on all 3 days, I think, if I remember rightly. Is that right, Gary? If you did the numbers?
Yeah, the numbers were down on each day. We didn't get anywhere near. We hit our peak capacity on the Saturday the first year we did it. We didn't get to that. Friday wasn't so bad in the evening, but it was, I think, generally during the day, the Saturday and the Sundays that probably were the reasoning why the numbers went so high. And I think that's why the discussion about having something else for families to do on the day may well have provided us a solution to bump the numbers up.
Okay. Anyone else got any thoughts at all? But we can move on. We can move on to the Haverhill in the Park anyway as the next item. Sorry, Colin, so I've just seen your hand up.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Well, I thought we were kind of discussing Haverhill in the Park anyway. As a big day out, it's kind of is proposed being shifted. I think it's interesting the thought of actually making some of the really big events, and I think really Haverhill in the Park is the only really big event. If it was biannual, then I would suggest from a financial point of view, particularly as arrangements this year are not particularly advanced, is that the council might consider saying not this year, but next year. In that way, we would recalibrate the budget for this year to put half the budget in. So that would save about £20,000. And then that money, that 20,000 in the budget, would be put into an event reserve, so that the following year we didn't have to alter the budget at all. It was the 20,000 a year budget for the event was then established from this year, rather than go a whole year and then look at it next year.
Yeah, interesting concept. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Councillor Lucarini, I thought you were about to put your hand up.
It's an interesting idea. My only fear at the moment is obviously it's still kind of a young event. You know, it was a real shame that in 2023 it didn't grow. You know, I think we were all hoping that, you know, second year it would get a little bit bigger. I'm kind of worried now by taking a year off. You know, do we harm the event? You know, do we stall its growth even further? I kind of, in my mind, almost want to give it one more year to try and actually see if we can actually grow it. Can we get the numbers up? And you know, I almost think for next year, then that would be a deciding factor whether, you know, does the event work or doesn't it? We're giving it then 3 good years to try it out. But yeah, I was going to say anyway, in terms of the numbers, you know, it's disappointing. I feel for, if we do go ahead with it, the advertising needs to be better. I think we went too late on the adverts this year, and I get, and it's not a criticism of anyone, but I get we were kind of waiting to almost drip feed the acts. I think, you know, we get to a point where people are already booking up and doing other things. You know, they're booking family days out. It's a summer holiday. You know, we almost need to be going now and saying this is when Haverhill in the Park is, so people actually put it in their calendars and make arrangements with friends, family to actually come along to it. Otherwise we get so close and we've missed that opportunity. So I'd like to see that. Obviously I said about the Sunday, I still think the Sunday is always going to be difficult for us to get people in. People are thinking about going back to work the next day. You know, then they're not thinking about having a day out. They're not thinking about potentially drinking. So you know, I'm not quite sure what the saving would be exactly, but obviously, you know, there is a saving on terms of like the security costs. That's a big one. That'd be a whole day of security. It would knock on the head. We'd be packing up a day earlier. The Sunday would suddenly be used for the pack up. I do wonder about concentrating on doing a really good Friday night, a really good Saturday. We can move some of the community's acts and dance schools that we had earlier onto the Saturday as well to make that a fuller event. Possibly even reduce the gaps between acts down slightly, especially earlier in the day where there's not quite so much tech needed. Yeah, I'm interested what others think.
Yeah, I mean, that being, I'll go on to Councillor Mason in a sec. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm if we're not going to do what Colin suggested, which I never thought about, the financial split of that, is whether or not, yeah, we just say let's knock the Sunday on the head totally in terms of the Haverhill in the Park, but concentrate on your big day out, whether it's called a big day out or some other name for that. And as Councillor Lucarini says, I was thinking in my mind before he mentioned it, things like, you know, if we got dance schools or whoever, community events, you know, rather than wait until 12 o'clock, you know, we could start at 11 o'clock maybe. get that extra hour in or something like that. But Councillor Mason, and then Colin. You're muted, by the way, Joe. You're muted.
There we go. I'm sorry. Out of practice. I liked the suggestion that Colin has put forward of doing a biannual one. I mean, I know I don't have a vote on this committee because it's such a big ticket item. I wonder whether some options could be made to the full council on this particular topic. The councils across the country, county councils, district councils, and indeed parish councils, are going to have to make some really tough decisions about where they spend their money, and also increasing the precept. The idea of not taking it away entirely, which I hadn't thought about, and going biannually, I think the community could understand. I don't quite go with what Councillor Luccarini was suggesting. We need one more year, because if we're going to go possibly biannual anyway, because of the financial pressures, it's such a big ticket. There was a time when the town council didn't do it, and we've decided to take on this additional cost, and it's a year-on-year cost that we're asking the taxpayer to fund, which under the current pressures is really, really difficult. But my point is I wonder whether we should put some options to full council on this particular issue and broaden it out to a wider discussion. Thank you.
Well, we have got finance also tomorrow night, Councillor Mason, as well. So I guess that would be discussed there. One thing just to point out, of course, Haverhill in the Park, to a certain extent, replaced the 2 tribute nights we had in August, which weren't cheap either in terms of staging and, or particularly the acts weren't cheap either. And they were certainly not necessarily local. Some of them came from some distance. Sorry, Colin, down to you, and then Councillor Luccarini.
Thank you, Chair. Credit's due, actually. Yeah, it was your suggestion to put it biannually. I was simply pointing out that in terms of the budget, it would make sense to start it straight away rather than, and you wouldn't want a yo-yo. You wouldn't want a near on £40,000 appearing one year and disappearing the next. You definitely always smooth it out and use your earmark reserves. Yes, Councillor Mason, we'll look at see if we can get some costings, savings. Obviously, it's very easy to provide the saving for not putting on the event, and it's very easy to provide the saving for putting on every other year. The savings for not holding the Sunday event, I think, are slightly less clear, and we'll see what we can do. I wouldn't. I don't think it's realistic to expect the answer to that tomorrow evening. The difficulty comes, as the chair has already said, the bulk of the cost for many things is the setup and take down. The actual rental for having things like the stage and the Harris fencing and the toilets that's really based on the gap between the put it all up and take it all down. If it takes down a day early, that doesn't necessarily save a huge amount of money. It might do. It saves us staff costs. The Sunday artist fees, I guess there would be perhaps a couple of thousand or so to be harvested, but quite a few of the artistes are local community acts where, regardless of how good they are, the truth is that they don't charge as much as some of the kind of, if you like, the professional bands that are playing. Yes, if we bumped some of the professional bands on the Saturday in order to accommodate the community ones, then there might be some savings there. So it's probably a little bit complicated. Obviously, staff costs we would save at least one day, because if we started taking the thing down on the Sunday, then we wouldn't be taking it down on the Monday or the Tuesday or whenever it might be. So we'll see what we can do about that.
Okay, Councillor, who's next? I see Councillor Handler's thing up.
Thank
Hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Just to sort of try and pep things up a bit, make it a bit more happier. Town councils and parish councils are quite different when it comes to sort of cost and expense of things. You know, obviously the other two councils, Suffolk County councils, for instance, are cutting enormous amount from their leisure, which will hit the people of Haverhill quite hard, and also other towns and parishes in Suffolk. Obviously, and the same as West Suffolk District Council and the other district councils, their money has been cut enormously, and they've relied on government money. We, as a town council and parish council, don't rely on government money. So we've got to try as possibly hard as we can to keep our events going because of what's happening with the cuts of other councils. So we've got to sort of think ourselves that we need these events. So don't cut things drastically very quickly. And that's why I'm saying take our time about it, give it another year, and then see how we go. And not only that, it helped the staff to sort of try and come up with other things, other savings as well. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Councillor Hanlon. I just think the problem is that Haverhill in the Park, particularly, as much as it's a great event, and I enjoyed working on it as much as I can remember it last year, anyway. It is a big ticket item, and these costs, you know, the budget cost there is the minimum cost. The actual cost obviously is a lot higher because we're not including staffing costs, the setup costs, which, you know, Councillor Luccarini, myself and others worked a week on it. You know, quite long hours every day. That's what worries me a little bit, to have that. But anyway, it's something that, you know, it should be for general discussion. It's just a suggestion I made. I quite like the idea of what Colin was saying about, you know, maybe doing and setting up a reserve so next year it doesn't come as a massive hit to us again.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, can I just ask Gary a question, please?
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's Gary, this fencing on Haverhill in the Park. I don't know if you've been sort of where the entrance of it. Has people had the impression that they have to pay? Have you ever had that?
There were a few rumours that I'd heard about people having to pay. Excuse me. But in terms of people coming up to the gate itself, when you're talking about 5,000 to 8,000 admissions, there were very few people who were saying, "Oh, have I got to pay?" I think it's a bit like one of those Facebook rumours that go around that, "Oh, you have to pay to get in." But I think we're talking about a very small minority. However, I would suggest, if it goes ahead, that one of the core aspects of any marketing plan that we have pushes it forward that it's a free event to attend and that all can enter. And that I think when you look at the admissions that we have coming through, they include people going out again to the kiosk, popping to the Wetherspoons and coming back. But also, don't forget that there were several hundred people who sit outside the fencing who, to all intents and purposes, are attending the event. One of the primary reasons that they don't come in is that we don't allow, for our licensing capabilities, to not allow alcohol in from outside. So we end up with several hundred people, which we had last Friday, Saturday when we ran it in the summer in August. So if we added those people onto it, then we're talking higher numbers. So in terms of the fencing, I don't think it's a massive deterrent to people wanting to come in. It's certainly very clear, and I think moving forward with that question going into 2024, if it runs, is that we make it quite clear through signage on the fencing itself, and more importantly, I think through social media and a marketing push, that it's pushed that it's a completely free event to attend. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Gary. Thanks, Chair.
Is that right, Councillor Hanlon? Yeah. Okay, Councillor Lucchini.
If we do go ahead with this event, like I've said last year, obviously it's to look towards sponsorship again as well. So we had a little bit of sponsorship money for last year's, which was good. And I think there's some ideas floating around about different companies that we can potentially approach this year. So it'd be good if we can do that again to offset some of the cost. And I think, like I've mentioned in previous years, it'd be worth looking at Festival 2, which is King's Lynn's festival, which is completely free. If you go to the bottom of their website, you can see their list of sponsors. They get a huge number of sponsors. It's very impressive. On a different scale to what we're doing, they get much bigger acts. It's grown for over the years. Started off really small, but now it's a massive attraction in King's Lynn. Draws tens and tens of thousands of people into the area. So worth having a look at.
Yeah, I think sponsorship certainly is. Yeah, we were lucky last year with a certain developer who gave us a couple of grand. Whether they'll do the same thing again this year, who knows? And other people. Gary.
Yes. Also, as well, I think we like in this discussion, and I think this is a very good discussion about how the event goes forward, is also not to forget that we put money back into the local community. A lot of the suppliers and contractors and agencies involved in the day itself are local. So in essence, we've got local concession stands, we have local tech support, and so on and so on. So just simply removing it, that money doesn't go back into the local community. So in essence, it's almost like the drip thing. So if we don't host it, there may be a knock-on effect, but it's just something to consider as part of this wider range of discussion. Thank you.
Councillor Lucchini.
Yeah, it's also the local performers. It's giving them an opportunity to perform and showcase what we actually have to offer in Haverhill. A lot of these acts would never have this kind of opportunity. And people that live in Haverhill wouldn't even know a lot of these acts even existed. And the thing that over the last 2 years that kind of struck me was these people are coming off the stage, and even when it's been early in the day and there's been a small crowd, they've all come off and said how amazing it was and how much they enjoyed that experience, and it's something that they've never had an opportunity to do before. So I kind of think we need to remember kind of the arts and that side of it as well. And then just another question for Colin. Do you know how much we used to spend on the 2 tribute night events in total? How much more is this event costing than our previous offering?
Give me a couple of moments and I can find out for you.
Thank you.
I've got a feeling it was £7 a night. That's off the top of my head. Because the stage had to be put up and down, the performers came in.
I think we've got to remember that obviously if we do skip a year with this event or stop doing it, we haven't just removed a new event. We're actually taking away an offering that we've done for many years. Obviously, it's
but we did agree, of course.
But
we did agree 2 or 3 years ago that we would look at every single event.
Oh yeah, but just something to remind people that it's not just a new event. It's an old event that's morphed. Yeah,
and that's why I mentioned things like Halloween Trail and whether we move fireworks. Just suggestions for change. Not necessarily removing them, but doing something different. I don't know. Gary again. Sorry, did you?
Yeah. Sorry, can I just, if the discussion that from a logistical and delivery point of view, I wouldn't be overly keen to go back to the Market Square. One, it would be a step back, and also 2, I think there are logistical and delivery issues that are vaguely insurmountable unless we go bigger at the square in terms of road closures, security, and so on. Yeah. That would be my, as the event manager, that would be my choice not to do that. Thank you, Chair.
And I agree, because 5-6 years ago when myself or others suggested moving off the Market Square, or at least making the tribute nights more of a local issue rather than bringing in lots of people from outside, that was one of the reasons, you know, and apart from the security aspect and people, you know, things like, I don't know, just bringing glasses onto the market square, you know, the number of glasses and bowls we used to pick up, it was a nightmare. Aaron, Councillor Cooney.
Yeah, just to say, Gary, I wasn't suggesting we go back to the market square at all. You know, as I've said previously, I've worked on both events for setup and stewarding. The market square wasn't a nice environment. Obviously cheaper from my point of view. I don't have to take a week unpaid, but much prefer Haverhill in the Park.
Yes, I wasn't stating that anyone was suggesting that, but if there's going to be a wider discussion, my take on it was that we don't take that step back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Colin, I know it's lastminute.com. If there's anything you can bring in for tomorrow night, it'd be great. If not, maybe for next week.
Well, we'll see what we can do. The answer to the question in terms of the cost of the tribute nights, the tribute nights in 2019 were costed at £6,350 each, so 12,700.
Yeah. So this is substantially more than that, of course.
Yes, but it's also substantially more hours. I mean, that was for effectively a couple of hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
On each evening. So we did work out that whilst Haverhill in the Park is triple the cost, it's more than triple the hours. So, I mean, people may regard that as, you know, whether they think that's a fair comparator or not. But I would absolutely echo what Gary said about the, and I appreciate Councillor Lucarini acknowledged, the Market Square events have their own set of problems that we wouldn't want to revisit. But in terms of the cost of those events, yes, far, far cheaper.
Yeah, and I would say probably 5 times the performers, if you think about it.
Oh, yes. I mean, the number of performers we get through Haverhill in the Park, it's a quantum different event.
Yeah.
They're not really comparable, other than one
not.
replace the other.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's call that day on that, because time's getting on, and I think, you know, we don't have all the information yet, and it's, you know, it's discussion for probably more members of the council and everything, particularly whether certain events go ahead this year. Okay. Halloween Trail, Christmas event, fireworks. Again, you know, I said, you know, if you're going to allow Haverhill in the Park, maybe we ought to not do Halloween Trail this year and maybe do that next year. You know, that sort of thing. You know, I don't know. Councillor Lucchini.
Yeah, just one question on Halloween Trail. Last year we had security for the first time. Just wondering, was that actually necessary, and what kind of cost that added to the event?
Sarah or Gary, one of the two. I don't know.
I think we thought it was a definite benefit to have the security there, and it's mainly to do with the overexcited teenagers. I think they cost, and Gary can correct me if I'm wrong, about £18 an hour. Maybe we could have done with fewer, I'm not sure, but there was a general consensus among staff that with a late at night open access venue, it was a good thing to have.
Yes, I've always felt that when we're off-site, that our activities involve dealing with the public, and I've always felt that ensuring the safety of the staff as well as the public who attend should be one of our overarching concerns. We did have security, and I would hope that council would consider the safety of staff being paramount. We have very few issues, which over the years since I've been here, primarily due to, I think, the dedication of the teams involved. However, we shouldn't be complacent about such a thing, particularly when we're working late at night in the open. So I think that was what, particularly as the event manager, would be one of my overarching points. Again, I would consider having security for future events. I wouldn't suggest we put security on picnic in the park. We will do it, where we feel it's appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the question I probably is being thought about is, well, we haven't done it for many, many years. Why this year, I guess, but that's,
Well, I think it's probably a mistake that we haven't done it for many years because
okay. I wasn't there, so I don't know, so I'm not going to comment. Councillor Creaney, Alan?
Yeah, I mean that was more my reasoning. The fact we've never done it in the past. Obviously, yeah, this year we suddenly had securities. Whether there was a real issue or whether it's just something, like you say, we should have always have been doing. But I think it was just a surprise to see 3 security guards there, bouncers, whatever they are. Just surprising.
We have had over the years issues with both sites, the East Town Park and the Scouts Field, with the Halloween Trail, with various youth groups causing us issues. It's never got to the point where it's got into fisticuffs or violence. However, I don't think we should be exposing staff to that, which is one of the reasons why we asked security this year. Okay. I think if we've not done it in the time that I've here on many occasions, I think that there's always a time for security, and I think I would like to hope that councillors would agree as well.
Yeah, thank you both, Sarah and Gary. That's
fine. Yeah, that's fine. Councillor Hanlon?
Yeah, if the staff feel anywhere unsafe and they want security staff, we as councillors should be responsible for the staff, and definitely they should have security staff when obviously when they feel unsafe. It's our job, really.
Yeah, no, I think there's any doubt. I think it was just a question about why this year for the first year, which but I understand that now. Okay. So Halloween tree and Christmas events, Christmas fireworks is there was a question about what I said earlier on, whether again you have a fallow year, not necessarily for the Christmas events, but whether you do the Halloween trail, whether you, because the Halloween trail, I know from my own experiences, even on a smaller scale, is still a big workup. Is during the day, a lot of hours. I think it must be best part of 15 hours, is it? Something like 9 in the morning till probably midnight, something like that. Again, not helped by lights going off, of course, but something to think about as part of this working group is to how we handle this. When as an example, Halloween trail, when would you need to make a decision whether it goes ahead or not? I'm not saying, I'm not making any suggestion it doesn't go ahead, but
realistically, things start getting booked after the summer.
Okay.
From September onwards. It's surprisingly late in the season in reality that these things start getting booked. Okay. Obviously, if there was any thought of not holding the Halloween trail this year and you wanted that reflected in the budget, then that decision would need to be taken within the next 14 days. Yeah. Or not even that, actually, the next 10 days. So that would be down to councillors. I think the only thing I would say with Halloween trail in terms of cost containment, one of the things we did discuss at the officers group meeting was just to have a look at how elaborate the tech was. Whilst it was great that one of the contractors was able to provide some additional vehicles, etc. I think taking a step back, there was a huge amount of tech coming out of the woods at the end of the day. It seemed to be an awful lot more tech than there has been previously. I know some of that was because we were putting power out to gazebos so that the performers didn't have to return to the East Town Park Centre, which I think is an extremely good idea. Because obviously in the past we've had the people, the residents have come along and had to wait, not just for the kind of 45-minute break that the artists are having, but you add 10 minutes either side, because the artists are not including their walk back to the base in their break time, and it also was, and to a certain extent it worked this year, avoiding all of the performers walking back past crowds of people, and we have thought about the layout of the event to avoid people actually seeing the artists heading in and out from their centres. But to me, there did seem to be a huge amount of tech there, and I think we may just want to just review that, the back to basics thing that Councillor Lucarini correctly suggested for the getting back to scaring rather than artistry. I think we need to make sure that we're back to basics as much as necessary on the tech as well.
Councillor Lucarini?
Yeah, I did comment on the amount of tech. It did seem an increase on previous years at East End Park, and also a lot more staff as well from the tech side of things than we've had previously. I don't know whether actually so many were required, but obviously that must have been a considerable cost. But yeah, in terms of the actual event, you know, if we can go for a similar kind of size again, I don't think it needs to get bigger personally. I thought it felt quite a nice size. I was stewarding with Centre Stage, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic. So you know, if we can do that kind of joined up working with them again, or any other volunteers, scarers, you know, just the simplicity of jumping out behind trees with a mask on works wonders. It's effective. You don't need to go all out.
Oh, I thought they were real scary people. Yeah, you've done it now. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else on item 8, the community events? Anybody else got anything to add? Thoughts? A little bit of work in the background needed, I'm afraid, Colin and Sarah and everybody else for things. Right. Shall we move quickly on to item 9 then? Which is any other business, which is the Knife Angel proposal.
Sorry, Chair, did you want to talk about the Christmas events at all, or did you?
Well, no, I thought I was
later in the
including
year?
that with the Halloween because I was thinking it's far too early, possibly, to talk about those, other than what was mentioned about wonky Christmas trees before and all that sort of stuff. But you know,
Yes, just to say that whilst we managed to make light of it, and that seemed to go down well, the reality was that was actually a nightmare. We had to straighten the tree halfway through.
yeah.
I don't really understand quite how come the chocking didn't seem to hold at any point at all. Even when it was re-chocked, it seemed to develop more of a lean again. As entertaining as it was, I think we would like a straight tree. There was a curve in the tree itself, which didn't help, and we can't do anything about that. But we need to just investigate how come we didn't get that tree straight up. It was, you know, we had 2 goes at it, well, 3 goes at it in reality, and it was a recalcitrant tree. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Sadly, I never actually saw it, so I only saw one picture, of course. Okay, no, so I think on the Christmas events, probably not. I mean, we all agree that, from what I'm hearing, that the daytime thing was really good. If it, you know, it's repeated next year, or this year rather. The only thing would be about the fireworks. I think you've got to just do something about the weather, haven't you? You know, you've got to sort it out. You know, have some big. I don't know. It wasn't fog though, was it? I understand. Was it low mist or something?
It was about 4 o'clock. A mist descended on the park, and the combination of the atmospherics of that mist and the smoke and the energy created by the fireworks created
The temperature inversion.
Whatever the process was, it resulted in
what
everybody saw and all the videos and everything.
Okay.
So, which was a shame because again the display obviously was a good one.
No, okay. No, I've seen temperature inversions at sea like that. You know, just sorry, Colin.
Chair, I'm not. It may have been a temperature inversion to begin with, but the truth is, it was a very cold day. There was a lot of dampness in the air, and having fired fireworks for 30, 40 years, then I can guarantee one thing that always happens when I go back from work firing fireworks on November the 5th is there's fog everywhere. It's the particulates fired into the damp atmosphere causes fog. It's as simple as that. We've been lucky that it's been drier in previous years. It was the cold damp. It was just the right level of mist. I have to say, I was watching the fireworks from the top of Swan Lane, and the coloured effects through the clouds was absolutely spectacular. I'm sure people across town had a really fantastic view. Probably the people in the park had the worst view.
Okay, all right. Joe, Councillor Mason.
I was just going to add, I was in the market square at the time, and we saw the fireworks going off. It wasn't sort of the lighting of a cloud that many people experienced on the wreck.
Okay.
And so for me, I think it was quite directional from the market square. We had a reasonably good show. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but yeah, I think it was just the nature of how the mist and the smoke was just obscuring the fireworks. It was a shame.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, without going Councillor Greeney, I think in the past, if you stand on Camps Road and look at the fire, you often get obscured by the trees anyway, of the actual fireworks. So yeah, Aaron, Councillor Greeney.
I've just come away and said that I've now seen the Northern Lights in Haverhill.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Right. So we should move on to item 9 then. Knife Angel proposal. Is that you, Colin, or Sarah? Sarah?
Yeah, the Knife Angel. Does everyone know what the Knife Angel is?
Well, I do. Yeah.
So it's the reclaimed knives made into a massive angel structure.
Yeah.
And when Dan was here, he tried to get the Knife Angel from the man that owns it, but he gave us the knockback. At the same time, Darryl Barfield, who is Harvey Barfield's father, Harley, sorry, contacted the man Clive himself. And Clive has given Darryl a certificate to say that he would be willing for the Knife Angel to come to Haverhill, subject to certain conditions, and it is included on the Knife Angel website in their schedule. Darryl is he's in contact with me very frequently. He's massively committed. He's worked very hard. He's got some fundraising to do, but there are various things that need to be sorted out. First of all, there's security to think about, and Clive, the man that owns the Knife Angel, has asked Darryl for a £4,000 deposit before he will let the Knife Angel come to Haverhill. Colin, do you want to speak about any of the things you talked about before?
Well, I mean, the other thing that forgive me if I missed you saying it, that we actually need to find a more important authority than ourselves or Mr. Barfield to host the event.
Dan and I wrote to Darryl to say that we thought he should get in touch with Tim Passmore, and he's contacted me today to say that he has. I haven't spoken to him since.
Okay, so obviously Tim Passmore would be an eminently suitable person to be the kind of the lead authority. The artist doesn't deal with parish councils. He deals with police commissioners and principal councils. So it would be good if the police commissioner is willing to do that. We also then have to the town needs to kind of put on some kind of series of events and activities to make the most, and quite obviously to make the most of having the Knife Angel here as a focus on a particular topic. clearly we're going to need to balance the really important message about knife crime. And there was an incident the beginning of this week, which luckily, although a knife was shown, didn't result in anyone getting hurt, but a lot of people were very, very scared and upset. That, you know, how, you know, dangerous and terrible that is an important message. But equally, you know, this is not the Nacton estate in Ipswich. This is not the East End of London, and we need to make sure that we're proportionate and we don't end up scaring people instead of getting a message to people. We're doing quite a lot of work in the June, and it's rather unfortunate that we've organised a big activity with schools in June, which doesn't coincide, of course, at all with the booking for the Knife Angel. And I don't know whether or not, in terms of satisfying the artist, that the most is being made of its presence, that we can highlight the activity for hundreds, I think it's 1,500 school children in June. Because obviously, whilst that's fantastic, it slightly shoots us in the foot in that if we have to assist Mr. Barfield in putting on a whole series of events, and schools are an obvious part of that, in September, you're talking about bracketing the school holidays with you know, June having stuff in schools about knife crime, and then September expecting the schools to do a whole other load of things on knife crime all over again, which may not be practical to expect the curriculum to have so much content like that in it, however important the message is. So I think, you know, we can sit down with Mr. Barfield and we can assist him in his ideas for fundraising, and obviously on a practical level we can make all of the community event equipment that he might need available, but I think we need to also act as an honest broker and make sure that we don't end up flattering him and when things are not going to be quite so straightforward. There's going to be some challenges to overcome, not least security for the event the whole time, for that Knife Angel the whole time, how that's going to work. So we'll do our best to support him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help with Tim Passmore, of course, because it's election year for the police and crime commissioners as well. So he's got to be careful himself about what he can and can't endorse. You know, and post May, he may not be in position. Who knows? You know, we don't know.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, luckily, the timing probably works okay for that for him, in that obviously there is a period of heightened sensitivity for communications, which means that we won't be able to do any promotion for the Knife Angel before the May elections. But realistically, if it's happening in September, that's probably not a particular barrier.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Okay, anyone got any comments at all on that item, agenda item? No. Okay, let's move on. Item 10, date of next meeting. It's Monday, 15th of April. Desperately just about to look in the calendar, make sure it's all in there. Yes, it is. 15th of July and 14th of October, all Mondays, all online, all at 7 o'clock in the evening. I guess everyone's happy with that. And then unless anyone's got anything else, we'll close the meeting at 20:35.